Okay, what is up, my friends? Welcome to another video. This is actually the second time I'm shooting this. Apparently there was some muffling sound through the entire video that I shot, which hopefully this one will be better than that, but maybe not. Anyways, I wanted to catch up on a few things. I wanted to talk about this dark winter, this big snowball of an effect that is building and mounting, that we should start to see some really bad effects December 31st, depending on how this presidential transition goes in the United States. And the rest of it you'll start to see in March. I'm talking about the expiration of the CDC suspension of evictions, which expires on December 31st, and the CARES Act, which was a one-year suspension for hardships during a pandemic that started in March of 2020 and will expire March of 2021. We also have the extended benefits and pandemic unemployment benefits. I think three categories will be expiring on December 31st as well. So we've got quite the storm brewing here. A dark winter indeed, as Biden said twice in his second presidential debate. And what I'm failing to see is, the politicians claim that they care, right? But keep in mind that during the whole pandemic, during the whole lockdown, when 60 to 80% of American small businesses have now officially gone under, according to Yelp data. They still got paid. While everyone was suffering and getting in line to apparently buy a ton of toilet paper, instead of smart things like food and deep freezers and get themselves, tools set up to be able to store rainwater, etc. They weren't doing those things. They were instead getting in line for toilet paper. And during that time, all these politicians, all these slimy little fuckers were all getting paid, and they still are. So what I don't get is like there's this whole talk before the election, and these headlines were driving stock market price action, and that with the vaccine news, which is still driving the market. And these headlines of Mnuchin and Pelosi talking for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, right? They talked all night. They talked all weekend. They went in on the weekend and worked, and they're so brave and stunning, and you should, they're working hard for you. Where did all that go? When's the last time you saw a headline that's saying Mnuchin and Pelosi are talking again? The Democrats and Republicans are talking again. Like, you see, for as much as you think that maybe you're on the right side of this, and you're not. All of them equally don't give a fuck about you. The Democrats, for the most part, seem to have gone down this path where they're utterly insane. So they're the wolves. And the Republicans are the sheep. And there's no sheepdogs to come in and help and save the day, okay? The Republicans are definitely not going to do it. The GOP is definitely not going to do it. They're very good at talking shit, but very bad at doing, especially for the American people that they claim to care about so much and love so much. So, yeah, we have those headlines just completely gone. Meanwhile, again, all these people are still getting paid. So where are we at with this? Trump was threatening to sign an executive order at some point. What was that, like June, July, maybe August? He was threatening to sign an executive order to get people money. Where has he been, by the way? With all this election drama going on, he's not really that vocal. He's not really doing press conferences. Where's the press conferences? Where's the rallies? Where did all that go? And I'm not, taking a low blow at the guy. No, maybe there's a ton of stuff they're going through. Maybe they can't. I'm not very good at how these transitions are supposed to work. I don't really know. What I do know is that he's still the president of the United States. So maybe we should turn our focus back on things that are going to help. And the Operation Warp Speed clearly did a lot of amazing things, because we have 3 vaccine companies now that are trying to push product out onto the market. And depending on what news source you're reading or how you pay attention to your data, you wouldn't really know that, or you would think that it's a conspiracy theory and that these cures and these vaccines are garbage, but they're not. The rejuvenation cocktail thing that they're pushing out is actually got some very promising results so far, and that seems to be more a natural solution as well, by the way, because it's a cocktail of a bunch of stuff, and there's vitamins and minerals in there, and that's kind of what we need, So we're not really seeing this conversation be pushed any further now, which is very frustrating. I'm sure it's very frustrating to the average American. And now let's add all this up. Let's take a step back and add all this up. Depending on what study you read, Rasmussen said that 30% of Democrats thought that there was a voter fraud, and it probably went Joe Biden's way. And a economist study, they found poll, they found that only 6% of Democrats thought that there was tomfoolery that occurred. So depending on what you want to believe in, it doesn't really matter. I think we can all agree that something ain't smelling right with it. Now, you might have your reservations about how far Trump is trying to push it and da-da-da. Forget all that for a second. There's tomfoolery that happened. The mail-in voting did lead to fraud of some degree. There was fraud in this election. And so now we're left with the thought of, okay, do we pursue this or do we just let it go? Well, the left is cramming down your throat to just shut the fuck up and accept the results, even though they cried and cried and cried for 4 years on every media network that would allow them to about how Trump is an illegitimate president and he Russia this and Russia that, right? So anyway, the point is that at this point, I think the average Joe is thinking, well, why did I just vote? I'm thinking, why the fuck did I just vote? Because the Republicans are too pussy to do anything and stand up for themselves, and the Democrats clearly just did something, or people that wanted the Democrats to win in this situation, maybe they don't identify as Democrat, who cares? At this point, those people led to, something happening with the Democrat votes, which helped get Biden elected, okay? Now, would that have changed the result of the election? I don't know, but at this point, we have all of us who voted clearly seeing now that it didn't matter what the fuck you voted for, because they've got the machines and the technology to change the votes so you don't matter. Once again, they don't give a fuck about you. Okay, once again, the vote doesn't matter. So now the vote doesn't matter. Your governors are trying to lock you down with all this draconian, crazy, insane shit. So much so that there's a few people in, I believe, the House or the Senate now that are trying to pass a bill so that they cannot force you to take a vaccination, because under all these mandates and these statewide bullshit agendas, I think they're going to try and enforce a mandatory vaccination. There's enough of them talking about it now. They might just try and do that. The states have officially figured out how to go around the federal tape and just roll out their own set of rules. And this should be very terrifying for everybody, because, depending on who you've got running your state, you might have a whole different set of rules than another state. They're limiting how many people you can have over for Thanksgiving, even though they're not following those rules. There's all kinds of things that they're now trying to roll out as, jury and executioner here. And it's just wild to me that this is all just being accepted and all okay. People aren't moving and there's not a mass exodus happening. Well, you can't now, because there's lockdowns going to happen. If Biden is in fact the winner, you're going to be back in lockdown in January anyways. So you're not going to be able to leave the United States. Okay, you're not going to be able to go and get residency somewhere else or work towards citizenship somewhere else. Okay, so anyways, the vote doesn't matter. You still got to pay taxes, but you don't even get to decide where the taxes go. So you don't even know how the tax money's being spent. So now give your 30%, shut the fuck up about the election results. Your vote doesn't even matter. Like, at this point, what's even the point of having a democracy? I know I'm kind of going off here, but what is even the point? Because clearly they don't need you to vote. They just want your tax money, and you can't even leave your house. So they're going to tell you how to live your life in every aspect, and you can't even vote on who comes in and who goes out anymore. That's what we just saw happen. Talk about dark days, dark winter indeed. So anyways, we're talking about millions and millions of people who will be evicted this year, at the end of the year, that are going to run out of the extended unemployment benefits, that are going to run out of rope with the CDC suspending evictions. And look, it's gonna totally come down to the landlords being just like the police. I'm just doing my job. I got to show up and arrest you for not wearing a mask. I'm just doing my job. So, well, I got to kick you out because I'm the tenant. I'm just doing my job. They're hurting just as much as you. They haven't collected rent for fucking 8-12 months on all their investment properties or their investments, their properties, right? So it's not like these people are, trillionaires and super rich. Even if you're making a couple $1 million a year, I hate to tell you, but you're not rich. And you're definitely not in like this 1% club. These people got, bills as well. And the property has property taxes. It has different costs that are need to be handled. So they're going to play that card as well. So don't think that you're going to be safe and that they're just not going to evict you. They probably will, because they're going to be just doing their job like everyone else. It's going to be very interesting to see. Trump said that he would extend this. Joe Biden, I haven't heard talk about this at all, one bit, which you would think that, the press and stuff would start to ask Biden these questions and, what the hell's going on here? Why haven't they been talking about this? He's been picking out his different staff members. He's got Clinton all picked out. He's got Janet Yellen he's going to bring back in his treasury, which I'll save that for another rant. And a bunch of Eric Schmidt. He's got a bunch of people that are just lifelong institutional people, lifelong politicians, lifelong, collusionists, right? And so we go from the Logan Act being used on Michael Flynn to it's okay for Biden to be having conversations with North Korea, South Korea already, and the transition team and blah, blah, blah. All that's fine. So you see, again, with the rules, it's just yes isn't always yes, just when it benefits whoever has the most power and control of the day, which is clearly the left, because now they've got the big tech behind them. Okay, Eric Schmidt, ex-Google CEO, big tech guy. So there's all this collusion now, and they're all celebrating this collusion. Susan Rice was just, who's a complete fraud. She was just celebrating another appointee that Biden made. So I mean, we've got this big group, this big boys club coming right back in, and I think to a degree a lot of that was removed with Trump. And they're going to come right back in the door. They're going to roll back a lot of the shit that he worked on. And I guess you guys will all get to experience that now. And maybe some of us will say, I told you so. I don't see really what the point is. At some point, it's going to be so far into this progressive push that it's like, what's the point of saying I told you so? It's just fucking tragic. Okay, talk about scary. We have $52 billion in commercial payments not being made, suspended at this point. And we have zombie companies outperforming the S&P 500, which a zombie company is a negative EBITDA company. That means that the debt services do not cover, the revenue do not cover the debt services. That means that the company is massively losing money. We've been covering this in the premium newsletter all along this year as this number has been growing and mounting of these zombie companies and companies that are basically posting up negative earnings and still doing well. And still, still able to operate. The stock themselves are going up. So I don't know. There's this crazy thing going on where the stock market only really seems to be latching on to little tiny bits of hopium, which have to do with vaccinations and have to do with free money coming from the government. So apparently the people want this for now. And they're going to sit back and just totally gobble up this free money. I think the free money needs to be a lot, though. So going back to that, and we'll wrap up there, is, the $1,200 amount of money that they sent out, like they need to be learning from this and then applying it for what we now need. I mean, there's 500 companies being investigated in the PPP and EIDL for fraud. So let's take what happened there, make some new rules, some new guidelines. Let's take all the mistakes that happened with the $1,200 checks that were sent out to dead people and wrongful people that shouldn't have gotten it. Let's clean that up. Let's learn from that and apply it and send out more money to people. You've got to understand, they've got 8, 10, 12 months of no mortgage payment being made. What do you think the average mortgage payment is? It's at least $1,000. But some of them are even more. Imagine having a $2,000 a month mortgage payment and you haven't paid that in 10 months. Do the math on that. You got an extra 20, 30 grand sitting around? Well, you wouldn't have gone in forbearance if you had that sitting around. Maybe you do. Maybe some people went into forbearance just to, game the system a little bit. I don't know. And try and put their money to work for them somewhere else for the last 8 to 10 months. Risky play. But I think for the most part, people are struggling to feed themselves. We have record amounts of, shared with you the food bank story in Texas, where they gave out 600,000 pounds of food. Similar happening in Rhode Island. It went from 9.1% of people couldn't feed themselves in 2019 to 25% of people in Rhode Island could not feed themselves. We have huge problems going on with people not being able to support themselves. So yes, I think this is going to be a disaster. Now, what is the right amount of money? That's a big question to ask. When does the Fed stop printing money? Because right now we're just in this, their solution, and we're in this groove of just printing money. Quantitative easing, QE, is just printing money. So when do you stop that? I don't know. We all give them more credit and the benefit of the doubt. Maybe we shouldn't. We all assume that they know what's going on and they know exactly the perfect time to stop the QE and start the QT, which is quantitative tightening. That's basically where they burn money as it comes in. We don't know if they actually know what the fuck they're doing. They have two things working in their advantage. They have huge teams of people, and they know the depths of the monetary policy much more than you and I do. We just know based off of what they've told the public. But the inner workings and the little things in there, maybe they do have it all figured out. My guess is no, that they don't. And so we're all just hoping that they do this all the right way and keep rates low and blah, blah, blah. But if we look at how they just handled the pandemic, you want to call it the president, the Fed, the Treasury, all of them were involved. SBA, all involved. We lost 60 to 80% of our fucking small businesses. I'm pretty sure that's a disaster. I'm pretty sure that none of them are going to be held accountable for that. And nobody's really talking about that. We want to keep parading around this 260,000 deaths and try and pin that to Trump. Well, who are we going to pin this, the 60 to 80% of businesses being gone forever? Who are we going to pin that to? You can't just pin it on one guy, by the way. Even though he's the head of the country, yes, the buck stops with him. There's a lot of other players involved. There's a lot of other agencies now. The size of the government in three-letter agencies is so bloated that I can't just blame this all on one person. I can't. I can blame it on a lot of people in these different groups that were supposed to have our back, that were supposed to be there for us. But when does the Fed stop? Right? When do they stop printing money? And what's the size of the check that should be sent out? Or we got the Fed Now program that was supposed to be rolled out in 2-3 years. Roll it out now. Digital currency, bang, right? Instant to your account, right? Let's do wires. Let's take over the whole wire system and push out direct deposits to everybody. How much should that be though? I'll tell you what, $1,000 piddly check ain't gonna fucking do it. And a lot of these people, through the fear that they have now of the money, because money creates a lot of fear for people, and having bills and problems and debt really makes people do funky shit. They're going to get in line, I have a feeling, for this socialist handout. And as long as Biden sticks, there's going to be a big handout that he's going to give, and he's going to tell people just stay home. And we're going to keep giving you money, and they're going to keep signing bills behind closed doors that nobody's going to be paying attention to because everyone's going to be just at home, fucking depressed or partying or on drugs, and they're going to be signing all kinds of crazy shit into play. That's going to really have some dramatic effects on people's freedoms over the next 5 to 10 years is what I fear. And people are just take this handout. But the next one's got to be pretty big. I mean, 10K plus, I would think. Just send 10K to everybody. What's the problem with that? They're going to be mindlessly printing money anyways. Clearly, we saw in 2009 the correct solution is not to give the money to the big banks because all they did was give it right back out to the C-level executives for bonuses and share buyback programs that have happened over the last 10 years. The biggest programs ever since then, since they got their bailout. So none of that money went back into the public. And right now, even though a lot of that money will go back into, Amazon is completely taken over now, and back into a lot of these businesses, that is working money back into the economy, that's working money back into the economy a little bit differently than top down. It's going bottom up, which is how you want it. So yeah, I think that at this point, you should just be sending a big amount of money to families and households. And again, you can't force what they spend it on, but you can just hope that they spend it properly. So that's what I got for this video. Thumbs up if you like it, thumbs it down if you don't. The algorithms, everyone now on YouTube is crying about the algorithms. My channel is one of those. We go from having my best video over 340,000 views to I can't even get fucking 200 views now. So these little things help. Comment, liking, sharing, blah, 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 blah. You know the game. If you like this channel and you want to support us in some sort of way, then it's simple. Just take a few minutes, do those things. If you're brand new to the channel, subscribe, hit the bell notification so that you don't miss a video. Well, you still might, but at least you'll get more notifications, I guess, according to YouTube. And be on the lookout. More videos coming soon, my friends. See ya.